I didn't really know to go through in terms of dealing with struggles or how to navigate certain situations, circumstances. So that's something that was missing because, again, I was in a new ground. My support system was definitely people. Literally, what made the difference for me to be able to adapt myself within this new country and be able to move on and progress throughout my degree and also my education was meeting key people that opened all these opportunities and doors for me. I have no idea what was my future going to look like because, again, moving to this country and moving from Italy, I had no idea first of all how the education system worked. I couldn't speak the language.
Hey, my name is Anisha Patel, and I'm obsessed with all things career development. Whether that's navigating your professional journey, gaining clarity, or building the confidence to reach your goals, I'm here to support you in crafting your roadmap to success. I've grown a podcast that has reached thousands of people across the globe. I'm growing an online business, and I'm stepping outside of my 9-to-5 to build a career of my dreams. I've walked the path of transformation myself, and now I'm here to share insights, strategies, and stories to help you carve out a career that you love, or even a podcast you've been dreaming of creating, but you've not taken the leap to start yet. If you want to connect with me in between podcast episodes, I share my personal career insights and behind-the-scenes stories with my newsletter community, which you can join using the link in the show notes. This is the Pharmacist Diaries podcast. Hey there, friends. We are nearly halfway through the Untold Stories of Pharmacy Students series, where each week we're discovering the remarkable journeys shaping tomorrow's pharmacists. Do you know what I love so much about the pharmacy profession and my podcast? It is how it brings together people from all walks of life, each bringing their unique perspectives of healthcare. Today's story embodies exactly that, and I'm so excited to be able to share it with you. From the sun-soaked hills of Tuscany to the halls of British pharmacy education, meet Craig Ndip, a BPSA's vice president who's redefining what it means to find your place in pharmacy. This isn't just a story about moving countries, learning a new language. It's about building a new family within pharmacy, turning strangers into lifelong friends, and discovering that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is start over. As a fourth-year student who's faced depression, conquered imposter syndrome, and learned to embrace change, Craig shows us that you can challenge yourself and don't allow those challenges to define you. They prepare you for who you're meant to be and who you're meant to become. Are you ready to hear how this Italian boy has embraced change, faced his fears, and built meaningful connections along the way that can reshape your pharmacy journey? Let's dive into this week's episode. Craig.
Hi.
I can't believe we're here face to face.
Absolutely.
Do you remember when we met at the first BPSA conference?
Yeah, I remember, it just came out on me very joyous, very downhearted. I was very excited, actually, doing my first conference as a external relation officer and meeting you, also meeting your daughters. It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing.
We had a good time.
Yeah.
I remember when I did that careers talk and everyone stood up and started clapping, and I was embarrassed but excited at the same time. It was great.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your journey into pharmacy, I guess, and tell me a little bit about the fact that you actually moved from Italy to the UK. What was that journey like for you and your, for you specifically, and how did it lead to starting pharmacy?
That's absolutely a great question. Well, I was born in Italy many years ago now, back in 2000, I'll say. So, quite a long time ago. I was born into Italy and pretty much spent my whole life there, about 16 years. And I remember it probably was around high school. I was in high school and around 16 years old, and obviously wondering about the future and thinking about what's going to be my next step and what's going to be what I'm going to become eventually. And my main idea was actually getting into medicine back then. And the reason was because of my mother. My mother, she's a nurse. She'd been working in hospital pretty much my whole life. I remember being a kid and going with her at university when she was doing a degree. And so the sort of environment within healthcare so sparkled something to me. I like the environment a lot. Our patient could absolutely rely on professionals to give them the best advice about their treatments and their condition. And the sort of expertise and knowledge behind it kind of show me some sort of interest about, being this professional that has knows so much about a whole condition, a whole medication, and be able to help someone, the public, in the best way possible. And yeah, just from that, I knew that, well, I definitely want to get into healthcare. I want to work in a hospital. And the best example at the time definitely was my mother, that she was a nurse. And I remember, yeah, maybe, I should get into medicine. And that's how it started eventually. So just this high school kid in Italy dreaming to become potentially a doctor and work in healthcare. But obviously, life is very unexpected, I would say. You maybe dream of something, you have a specific plan for yourself, and sometimes things don't really go to plans. I remember one day waking up and talking to my father, just telling me over the phone, "You're going to England." And shocked. I was completely shocked because, again, spent 16 years in Italy. I lived my whole life. All my friends were there from there. I went to school in Italy. I was used to, spending my time I've come from the countryside, so spending my time in the hills of Tuscany. And yeah, the sort of shock finding out that, well, all of that is not going to be reality anymore, and go to a different country. Well, I was not happy initially, as you might realize. I was not definitely happy. I was shocked because I didn't expect it was not within my plans. But I did have a sense of hope because I knew I could trust my father. My father, very experienced man, he himself had to move from a different country. I was born in Cameroon and had to move to Italy at a pretty young age. Actually, around my age right now, I was around 24 years old. So I could definitely trust his experience to know better for my future. So I decided to take on his idea. Okay, fair enough. I'm gonna try this new venture and see what it's gonna do to me. But in the back of my mind, I was very, very affectionate about my life in Italy. I'm a foodie guy, so I'm not sure if anybody has ever tried Italian food. It's amazing. So, living from eating my mom's lasagnas or just pizza every Sunday, taking away that sort of routine kind of disrupted everything into me. So I found myself, as you mentioned before, starting over, all over again, moving in a new country with a different language that I couldn't speak at all. Having to meet new people, try to understand how to move around. And it was sort of daunting initially, I would say. It took me many years to get used to it, to the weather. I'm used to a sunny weather back from Florence, and now I had to deal with the rain, constant rain and cold. So it felt very lonely initially. But as time went on, I sort of came to realization that obviously, that's my new place, so I had to kind of embrace the moment and try my best to find a way to accept it first and see how I could make it work for myself eventually. So that's a sort of intro for me moving to the UK. It's sort of a sad start. But a lot of things happen along the way. Many things not expected. Many things obviously way away from I'm a pharmacy student. I'm not the sort of doctor I imagined to be. So I will say that, well, despite things not going to plan, I'll say, I was still able to find a way to make it work for myself. And that was thanks to the connection I made, thanks to the people I met along the way, and, also events that led to the moment here, being a podcast for the first time as a pharmacy student, as a vice president of an association, a national association. So, well, sometimes things don't really work out for you, but if you trust the process, if you really truly believe in yourself, you realize that, well, you can still make it work for you and be able to find yourself in a position where you can still find your way around stuff. So that's the sort of intro about my story. I'm not sure if I should tell more into about my life in England, trying to adapt myself. Tell me, or
Where do we go next?
Where do we go next? Yeah.
Your story is so interesting, and also you're very reflective. You're very aware of adapting to change and identifying how to embrace things that seem challenging, which is such a great life skill to have, by the way.
Absolutely.
I moved to the US at the age of 15, similar to you. My parents literally said, we're moving in a month and we're moving to America. Everything that you know, that you love, that you're aware of here in London is going to change.
Yeah.
I went from a private all-girls school to living in Virginia in a public school, boys and girls mixed, and it was terrifying. Yeah. It was such a big shift. Now, I didn't have the language barrier on top of that, which was very fortunate, but I was 100% an outsider. I spoke differently. I looked different. When I moved there, people didn't even know where England was. And they were like, how is your skin brown, but you're English? Like, should you not be, white? They were confused about the fact that my parents are both from like Kenya and Uganda, but I'm Indian in origin. They kind of assumed that it was American Indian and that I lived in a teepee. It was just awful. It was the worst experience. And in the moment, I was not as mature about the situation as clearly what you've been through, and you've really embraced it. And I just hated it. Yeah. I was just not happy. And the first few years of living there was really, really tough. Like developing friendships was really, really hard. I joined in the second year of high school. So everyone already had their kind of friendship networks. A lot of the kids had already been through kind of like the junior years of school together. And so you were the new kid and you were totally different to what everyone expected in terms of not being American. So that was really, really hard. But when I look back at that experience now, like many years ago, I have really utilized that kind of ability to adapt to change, to help people to understand who I am, to showcase like my personality and what I have to offer, and being able to connect with people. Yeah. It's so easy for me now. Like when you look at starting your journey as a pharmacist, like I started in hospital and you rotate to different specialties every 3 months. For me to go from like a cardiology ward to respiratory to pediatrics and like embed myself into the ward with the nurses, with the doctors, with the patients, easy. Yeah. Like it's like that. Yeah. It's so easy for me. And the reason for that is moving, is my family like moving. So having to adapt to change is really, really easy. So I know it's a really challenging situation, but as a student, I guess, and embedding yourself into pharmacy, what have you done to make that journey easier for you?
Well, I believe sort of putting myself out there, I'll say. I remember initially, I was very lost. I didn't really feel like I was in a position where I could start. I believe that for you, in able to have like a solid journey, it's important to have a very good foundation to be able to be sitting, down your ground, so you're able to stand firm no matter what circumstance you're put with. So I didn't really know who to rely with. I didn't really know what to go through in terms of dealing with struggles or how to navigate certain situations, circumstances. So that's something that was missing because, again, I was in a new ground and I had to kind of figure out my way around. I had to understand the system. That's the sort of situation I found myself with. So I realized that my system at the time, my support system was definitely people. Literally, what made the difference for me to be able to adapt myself within this new country and be able to move on and progress throughout my degree and also my education was meeting key people that opened all these opportunities and doors for me. So maybe I'll start saying that, well, initially, I have no idea what was my future going to look like. Because again, moving to this country and moving from Italy, I had no idea, first of all, how the education system worked. I couldn't speak the language. So I had to take a step at a time. I had to learn the language first. I had to be able to understand how to navigate my way around to figure out my future. and also I need to figure out what was going to be my next step from that situation. So I'll say I had to embrace a lot of resilience because it was not very hard to navigate around this new environment. And there was a lot of expectation from my parents because they'd done it before. So they really trusted in me to be able to navigate through this situation. However, because it was my first time, it felt like very daunting. It's not such a thing where you are living in an environment where you cannot understand what the person in front of you is saying. It's very, very frustrating. And I lived with that reality for like 2 years. And it was not something that I could really deal with at the time, which started creating something to my head. I started feeling a type of way. I started showing more the negative side of my personality. I started being more afraid to, interact around with people. I would say I'm quite, chatty person, lively. I love to talk to people, love to friend people. But remember in that specific period when I moved into the UK, it was very hard for me to make any meaningful connection. And it was very hard for me to, go out and do the things that I really love. Going out, restaurants. I'm a foodie guy, and so it was the case that I was struggling with that initially, but I understood that for myself, for my case, it was essential for me to realize how I could progress from that moment. So I believe, I had no idea at the time, but I believe there and then is when I started developing the first signs of depression. Because remember, I would spend a lot of time alone by myself, closing my room and just not doing anything whatsoever. A lot of evenings just like that. I remember the overwhelming feeling of sadness. I remember not speaking with anyone for a very long period. And I so understood that the biggest thing that really brings a smile to me, which is, interacting with people and be around people, was sort of like disappearing in my life, and which had massive consequences in me. I didn't have many friends at the time, eventually. So, and simply because it was very hard to communicate with anyone. I couldn't speak the language again. So I remember one day, I think it was 2 years after I moved there, I think one day I just decided enough was enough. I decided to like take a different step. It was a sort of like a breakthrough. And one day I decided that I don't want this to be my reality. I was tired. I was tired to be afraid. I was tired to be sort of sad, and I realized how it was having a massive toll to myself, right? So from that moment, then I decided okay, let me just go outside. Let me find out. Let me figure out what I can do for myself. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I wanted to do medicine, maybe. I was not even sure if that was the case. But I remember that I still have the passion for healthcare in general. So the sort of thing, just to answer the question asked me before, was to talk to people. What really helped me throughout this journey was absolutely talk to people about my situation. And they were just able to show me my way around, there's still the language barrier in between, but because they knew the system themselves, they're able to direct me to what could have helped me that moment. I remember this career advisor back at the college I was at, and that suggested me to take on to courses, because at the time, coming from Italy, and if you do not get a diploma, you cannot go straight into 6 months. If you cannot get into 6 months, you cannot go to university. Obviously, there's other ways to get into university nowadays, but at the time, I had no idea. I didn't know all these things. I just moved into a new country. I didn't know how to go around, So talking to people kind of allowed me to get access to the information to help me to figure out how to, sort out my future, for example. So I remember talking with a lot of career advisors, talking to friends, searching on the internet about, okay, this is my situation. Okay, what am I going to do now? How am I going to get into university at least? Because my main goal at the time was get into university. Yes, I think it's a sort of thing that people think that, oh, if you get a degree, you're going to be in a better position. I found out there's a thing called apprenticeship. where you work for a specific period, you get paid for, and with that sort of certificate, you're able to get into a specific job, and also and other avenues for you to be able to get into education or to get into employment. So I was sort of figuring out my way around, trying to understand the British system in a sense. And all this interaction allowed me to realize that really the key for you to reach a certain opportunity is to utilize people that are familiar with the system or people that have direct access to the system. So having all this conversation so made me realize that my situation is not over. My biggest thing is that I realized that all this time I was sort of falling behind because all my peers back in Italy were already at university, and I still did not have that. I still was not at university. I was trying to figure out how I'm gonna manage my way in, and I understand that one of the biggest realization back at the time that is there's no specific timeline for certain things, and people's journeys is different. So I learned how to not compare my own journey with others people's journey. I had to understand that my journey may be different for a specific reason, and maybe the sort of circumstances that I was going through enable me to have more opportunity within a specific area. For example, joining the British Pharmaceutical Student Association. All these sort of hardships I had to deal with my mental health, moving into a new country, learning new languages, figuring out how to make friends, allow me to be able to be one of the best candidates in a sense to enter this association, in my opinion, because it allowed me to build the skills. First of all, it's resilience. Because as a student, obviously, we have certain commitments. You know, we have our assessments. Also, we have our personal life and all that. So, you know, being within that sphere and environment allowed me to be comfortable with manage all these sort of elements into my life. And allowed me to be more confident into that space. And no, thinking back to that moment, I remember being sitting in a room and just telling myself, oh yeah, you know, I can do it. You know, let me just figure out a way to move away from that situation. And looking where I am now, with all these people I've met so far, I'm just very grateful that I decided to take a big step. And I'm just like amazed what so much has changed since then. I start from nothing, nowhere, knowing no one, to knowing so many people, maybe too many people. So yeah, that's where I am right now. Eventually.
What a great story, Craig.
Mm-hmm.
You should totally be a podcaster. You've got a good story to share, and also you share it so eloquently. You made my job really easy. I'm barely having to even ask you any questions. Obviously a really challenging journey to go through, but I think you've really highlighted the importance of the lessons learned and how you can take those setbacks and turn them into, you know, positive changes. And you do put such a positive spin on a lot of things that you've been through, which I love about your personality and who you are, which is so cool. And I think throughout life, especially when you go into pharmacy as a profession, it's a hard profession. There's a lot of burnout. There's a lot of long hours, you know, potentially long shifts, lack of resources, constantly, you know, limited with funding, with people. And I think all of that resilience that you've built will make you an amazing healthcare professional. So that's really awesome. I want to dive into BPSA a little bit and, you know, what's your role like as vice president, and what a massive change to be the lonely student who really didn't have any friends, couldn't communicate with people. You felt super like sad because you didn't know anyone and you didn't have those connections, to suddenly having like a massive shift to a vice president role and
Absolutely.
being the go-to guy.
Yeah.
And Emeka's right-hand man. Like, how does that feel? And how did that whole experience kind of like pan out for you?
Yeah. Well, I have to say that still nowadays, I feel like I can't believe I'm a vice president of an association. And I would say many years ago when I came to this country, it was definitely not in my mind. You know, it was not definitely in the goals for myself. My goal was to get into university. I think I need to start talking about my journey to get into pharmacy. I think it's important to talk about that because it sort of established I was able to become a vice president eventually. It sort of shaped my personality as well as my values and ethos towards life. And remember, yes, as you said, I was a very shy student. I was not confident whatsoever. The Craig of 6 years ago, 4 years ago, would never seen the first time on a podcast having a conversation about his own experience. I would say that I figured out pharmacy was my choice through conversation with some people. And I decided to go for medicine for certain circumstances and because I didn't have the right requirements to get straight into that degree. But I did not let that to stop me to still figure out something that was for me. I remember having a conversation again with a career advisor, such a key person, fundamental person for my growth into my past period in the UK, was advised me about some different courses that I could go for instead. They still had the sort of similar background or skill set and career opportunities. And I came across pharmacy, think about, well, sounds like a good degree. You're still going to have the opportunity to, deal with patients, and you're going to have access to a sort of broad knowledge that's going to allow you to be an expert within that field and area, and utilize that in the best of your abilities to deliver a good care. And this sort of explanation, word by word, that was given to me, it sort of sparkled something in me. Okay, oh wow, that sounds amazing. And if you remember before, I was talking about how kind of got a passion towards healthcare. It was because of my sort of opinion about doctors at the time or any sort of healthcare professional. So my mom. And that sort of enticed me, and I decided to basically do the application for the different courses through UCAS, and eventually got into university, surprisingly, actually, after an interview, a very tenuous interview. So yeah, I got into pharmacy. I remember being a first year student. Again, I still didn't fully have my foot around. My English was getting better, and I had few friends at the time, actually. So I was in this very massive environment, new environment, which was university, and I realized the diversity. I realized the space massive, and I realized probably there was an opportunity for me to not only figure out what I wanted for myself for the future, but also to fully figure out myself as a person. Because I realized that all the time I spent in the UK, I didn't give myself time to fully realize who I was and what I wanted and why I wanted certain things. So I think that was also my realization into a journey of self-discovery. And I was just did not know where to start. I remember joining American football. And, I'm a football fan. Football, not American football. I'm a football fan. And I was taking a decision whether to join any sort of club. I was interested in volleyball, football. And I saw this American football, the one where they throw the ball and you sort of catch it. It's not the normal football where you use your foot and stuff. So, okay, that's new, that's different, that's interesting. You know what? Let me try new stuff. I'm in this new country with a new mindset, new personality, new opportunities. So let me rebrand myself. So I just went for it. And I think from that experience was striking to me how I realized how easy it was for me to make friends. I remember going to the first training, there were about 80 people. I was like, there's no way I'm going to remember all these people's names by the end of the year. There's no way. 80 people, there's no way. If you ask me right now, I can tell you not just name, but also the surname of every single member. Maybe because we are team members and eventually it's necessary to build a bond. But I realized that I thrive by being around people. And that was the perfect space for me to realize that. And the reasons why, because I understand that by building a connection with someone, you are able to achieve the common goal in the most efficient way, and you utilize the connection, not only to help yourself, but also help them. So together you're in a good position to, achieve your goal in the best efficient way, because you're both put in a position where you can, act to the best of your abilities. And the sort of relation made me see that the importance of team working, the importance of connecting with someone and be able to be part of a large community towards a certain goal. And yeah, and from there, I did not stop there. I didn't stop with American football. I decided to join different clubs. I remember joining my local Christian club. I remember joining, so many clubs at university. And then came around BPSA. I remember there was this offer of a position, not a position, sorry, this ticket to go to the annual conference of BPSA. And the first time I actually not considered to go whatsoever. I was like, I have this exam that I need to submit. I have this assessment. I need to finish my stuff. And I remember my friend at the time that she eventually managed to get the ticket. She suddenly drops out from the ticket. Basically, she was selected, but she decided to, not go anymore. And she suggested me, Craig, you should go for it. And I eventually applied for the ticket. I got my ticket. And next thing you know, I'm in Birmingham in this conference with students from all over the world. And it was so funny because I was thinking that, oh, well, that's just going to be, some conference to do with pharmacy, just pharmacy. And I remember the time, obviously being a pharmacy student, just focusing about, my degree, maybe my future, not thinking of pharmacy as an really an opportunity to kind of like explore your sort of skills, your sort of ideas, and even yourself, your personality. And I left that conference thinking, wow, there's so much more about pharmacies. The people I met to that conference, I'm still very close friend today. They fully changed my life. I realized that pharmacy is not just about giving out prescription. It's not just about completing your specific role and ensure that the patient is okay. There's way too more into pharmacy. First of all, in a career perspective, I had no idea that now you could also work in industry, which is actually a common thing. I had no idea you could work in industry. I had no idea that there's a thing called astropharmacists. Did you know that? And that really stuck into me that pharmacy is actually a role that nowadays you can actually make it what you want yourself. You're a podcaster and also a pharmacist. And I guess you're utilizing all the knowledge and his experience for yourself and bring it into a podcast so more people can also share their own experiences and you can relate to it. And I realized that if you can really dream big, if you really want to, you can really make it a thing that aligns with your goals, aligns with your things that you want for yourself. And in the moment, I realized, okay, so what do I really want to do for myself? And I decided that the biggest thing for myself is to connect with people and make people understand that how to deal with certain circumstances. I've dealt with a lot of hardship throughout my life, and I wanted people to feel empowered and be able to be in a position where they know how to access certain resources and be able to utilize the resources to make through any situation. I wanted to be in a position where I could coach people, mentor people, and support them through my experience or my knowledge as well. And I thought, why not be in a platform where I can voice that? That's how I came into realization I should run for a position. And that's why I became, at the time, I was an IT officer. The next year, external relation officer, deal with sponsors, so a more responsible role. And finally, vice president. And the amount of people that came back to me and say thank you. And all I've done was just tell them about me. That's something interesting. People think that being in such a role, for example, the vice president, is all about knowing what you're doing and understanding how to sort of navigate your space around the association. But I feel like just of being present and be able to support people, right? Because it's a group of many individuals coming together, working together. They are able to benefit from your leadership just with your guidance. And sometimes the way I guide people with a role is not so to specific task or to do what sort of assignments they've been given, but it's also to be able to feel empowered, to feel supported, to feel in a position where they'll feel content and execute whatever task is given to them. And there's something I've learned about working with people. I realized, oh, I'm not so of a good leader until I learned that leadership is about put yourself in a position which is below the people that you're working with, and it's necessary so you can understand them, you can rely to them, and they help me to see how to properly navigate any situation whenever there was a concern, whenever someone required any sort of support, and allow me to understand that the biggest thing about leadership is really putting you in a position where people can really feel empowered. So if you're in a position where, they can communicate with you as well. And that was interesting. And I was able to sort of, be in that position, all because, I understand what it's like to struggle with something. I understand the pressure and all these things. So I was able to be in a position where I could help them with those very things. So yeah, that's my sort of experience as a vice president. It's helping people. That's my biggest thing. Obviously I deal with other commitments, which is speaking in boards, being part of talking groups and make decisions within pharmacy education, being advocate for pharmacy students. I remember early last year, actually, it's 2025 now, isn't it? So early last year, being part of this big board that would decide the future of foundation year. That was a massive achievement, by the way. And all goes down to the moment where I moved to the UK because I decided to take a risk and fully embrace it. And that experience allowed me to never feel a stranger in any environment, because although I might not be this big president or this big person, I still have an opinion, and my opinion matters because my own experience is enough to contribute to whatever may support students in the future or may support the profession. So something that I've learned, and I definitely would tell anybody that might listen to this podcast, is that you are absolutely valuable. And it's important that you understand that everything that you say matters and it can contribute to the bigger picture that we all put together. Because at the end of the day, we all thrive from different experiences, because all these different experiences, what can do, they can contribute to people that might face similar challenges or might deal with similar circumstances. So yeah, those sort of things that I've learned throughout my position as vice president, very grateful and very humbling, many times humbling opportunity as well. Yeah, that's all about it.
I literally have nothing to add, because that was just such a great story and such a great summary of why you're doing the things that you're doing, embracing everything that's happened within your life, and also helping other people along the journey and helping to support other pharmacy students. And I love your leadership style. I'm actually genuinely surprised at how incredibly talented you are. You're going to be a great leader in pharmacy, you know that? I'm so excited to see what Craig's going to be like even 5 years from now. I'm really looking forward to that. Whilst we're on the topic of future, my last question to you really is that, you're ending kind of your pharmacy degree, and what are your thoughts for your starting life as a pharmacist and your training year? Like, what are your thoughts as to where you're going to go and what you're going to do?
Right. I'm excited for my foundation year. I'm in fourth year at the moment. I'm about to finish on my last semester starting in a few weeks. And I'm gonna be in a split community and GP, actually in Bedford, so not far from here. So I chose community. I guess you can tell from that, I love people. I love that interaction, and also you do get that in hospital as well, absolutely. But I think I love the sense of being able to be part also of the community, because I think the good things about community pharmacists is that enables you to spend more time with certain patients, actually build that rapport, and not just building the rapport, but also being part of the sort of local area as well. So you get to know, things about the patient stuff. And I really wanted to be in such an environment where I could not just support and help the patient throughout the journey into healthcare, but also be also part of the community. So people be thinking, oh, I'm gonna just grab some medication off Craig, the pharmacist just down the road. So this whole concept, that's how I decided to get into community. So I'm gonna therefore start off with community, and I also decided to take a split with GP because I'm just curious about the sector, and I believe there's a lot to dive in to general practice, and I was just curious about the settings. I wanted to see how the pharmacist role is integrated within general practice, and what sort of task, what sort of responsibilities, and just out of curiosity. Well, I'm definitely potentially gonna stay within the community sector for a long period, but I really wanna see what else I can do. I don't think I'm gonna stop with a pharmacy, being a pharmacist. I believe I'm gonna also dive into, you know, entrepreneurship a little bit as well. Yeah, and I give that to my friend Emeka. You're gonna see him soon. This guy really, really inspired me and made me understand that you can actually follow your dream because he's been doing it. This guy owns a record label. I have other friends around myself that do very amazing stuff for themselves. And it's a thing that, oh, absolutely, pharmacist is my thing. I love pharmacists. I love everything to do with it. But I also want to see what else I can do with pharmacy. Maybe I could potentially open some sort of mentorship to help students that might be struggling with, say, certain situations, certain circumstances, offer counseling or any sort of services that can really, really showcase the sort of support I can provide to anyone that needs it. That's the sort of idea I have for my potential future venture, still within the pharmacy bubble, hopefully. But it's not clear yet, but it's just an idea that I just have there in the head and potentially see where that gets to. And that's my main thing, really, I'll say. And it's a thing that I don't really want to plan too much for my future because I understand that life is unpredictable. My whole life was unpredictable. I'll never tell you I'll be here speaking in English. First of all, I didn't know this language until 5 years ago. So I don't really want to limit my sort of vision for what's coming to something specific. I actually want to have an open mind about it and see where the wind gets me. Because I'm very confident that all this journey that I've been so far has happened for a reason. And whatever position I'm going to be in the future, I'm going to be able to do it, first, in the best of my abilities. But also, it's just going to be able to benefit me and benefit as many people as possible. I just want to give back, really, because this whole experience has given me so much valuable stuff. It taught me how to be resilient. It taught me how to adapt to certain situations. It taught me how to be bold and venture into new things. It really taught me so much about myself. I was talking about this sort of self-discovery journey. So I definitely want to take all of these and just being able to, create something valuable where people can benefit from and people can, just utilize for themselves. Again, I'm not sure that was going to look like, but I'm confident that wherever I'm going to be doing or whatever position I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be able to make impact. So I'm just going to leave it there like that.
Amazing. I love that. And I love that you've discovered that doing the pharmacy degree has kind of opened your mindset to loads of other things. You're considering entrepreneurship. You're excited to explore what GP land has to offer, even though you feel like at this point, community pharmacy is your calling because of all the experiences that you've had up to this point.
Mm-hmm.
And I completely agree with you. Community pharmacy sounds like an incredible place for you.
Mm-hmm.
But going into the foundation year with some new objectives as well and standards that GPHC are requiring of us, especially becoming prescribers.
Yeah.
GP Land will be a great place for you to be able to learn more about medical history taking, understanding how to use a stethoscope, taking observations, all the things that might not be super embedded into community.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll get the best of both worlds, which will be a great place for you to learn. But I love that you want to explore entrepreneurship and that your friends and your, pharmacy family are the ones who are also inspiring you on that journey. I'm inspired by Emeka. He's awesome, and I can't wait to interview him as well. My favorite phrase at the moment is to say that pharmacy itself and completing the pharmacy degree, becoming a pharmacist, is literally your launch pad. It is the foundation that you need to do 1,000,001 other things, which when you started pharmacy, you just expected that pharmacy would be it. But actually, it is the start of an incredible, flower that's literally blooming, and you're just going to do loads of different things, and you'll learn so much about yourself and what you want to do and shift into different places. It's exactly how my whole story in my life has unfolded. So I really look forward to seeing how that's going to happen. Thank you so much for sharing your story with me, sharing some really personal things about your journey. I am absolutely sure that a lot of people listening or watching this episode will find a lot of value from it, and also for taking the time to spend an afternoon with me.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anisha. Thank you.
You're welcome.